Welcome to the Deep Dive. It's great to have you with us again as we jump into another pile of information, really looking for those key insights, those aha moments that help you get informed without, well, getting totally buried in data. Now, before we get into today's topic, I do want to give a quick shout out to a supporter of this deep dive, Flowers and Associates Property Rentals. They actually specialize in special needs housing, which is quite relevant today. You can reach them at 901-621-3544. And speaking of, focused support systems and helping others, I actually just finished a really interesting book by Robert Flowers. It's called The Joy of Helping Others, Creating Passive Income Through Special Needs Housing. It's on Amazon now. I have to say, I really enjoyed it. It gives such a unique angle on how work driven by purpose can also provide really essential support, like, stable and suitable housing for people who need it most. It's just fascinating to see how these support systems can look so different, but they're all aiming to help people thrive. And that connects pretty well, actually, to the complex world we're diving into today.
Because navigating support systems, especially in education, can feel, well, incredibly complicated, confusing even. Yeah, sometimes completely overwhelming. If you're a parent or maybe a guardian trying to figure out the best path for a child with special needs, trying to understand rights, services, who to even talk to, you know exactly what I mean. There's so much information out there. But knowing what actually applies to your child, right? And what really works. And crucially, how do you access it? How do you make the system actually work for you and not against you? That's the huge challenge, isn't it? It really is. So we've got some really illuminating source material today, specifically about an initiative happening in Washington, D.C. It's designed precisely to tackle this challenge head on. It's called the D.C. Special Education Hub. Our mission then for this deep dive using these sources is to really unpack the details, understand its core purpose, figure out exactly what it offers families, and explore why it seems to be making such a real difference, providing practical, empowering support. We're going to look at its vision, the actual resources it provides, how it builds community, which seems key, and some of the innovative ways it's tackling this. So get ready. We're going to discover a model for how support systems are being rethought, really built to genuinely empower families in special education.
Okay, so diving into this source material, what strikes you right away is how clearly they state the hub's vision, its driving idea. It describes it not just as, a service, but almost like a beacon of hope. That's the phrase they use.
A beacon of hope. Wow.
Yeah, standing out in what it calls the intricate landscape of special education. And that phrase, intricate landscape, that really hits home, doesn't it? It captures that complexity, that confusion families often feel.
It absolutely does. It acknowledges the difficulty right from the start, and it frames its mission very clearly, too.
Yeah.
What does the source say is the fundamental goal?
The mission is stated really clearly: to empower families facing educational challenges related to special needs education. And this is so important. It's not just about educating the child, though that's the end goal, obviously.
Right.
The focus is explicitly on empowering the family, the parents, the guardians, the caregivers. It recognizes they're the ones navigating this day in, day out. They're the advocates, the constants, and they need solid support to do that effectively within this complex system.
Okay, let's unpack that focus on empowerment a bit more. Yeah. Why is empowering the families so central? Why not just, say, focus services directly on the child or work only with the schools?
Well, because the family holds this unique, incredibly valuable knowledge about the child. Their history, personality, their strengths outside of school, how they behave at home, what motivates them, what triggers challenges. They're also the ones putting strategies into practice after school, coordinating between different therapists or doctors, making those long-term decisions. Mm-hmm. So an empowered family is an informed family, right? A confident family, a family that's equipped to be the best possible advocate for their child's needs across their whole educational journey, which can be years and years. The source gets that the family isn't just sitting back waiting for services. They're active partners, and their capacity needs building up.
That makes total sense. You could offer all the services under the sun, but if the family doesn't understand them or doesn't know how to engage with the school system or just feels completely overwhelmed and alone, well, it's like having a powerful car with no one who knows how to drive it.
Exactly.
The source also mentions bridging gaps. What specific gaps are they trying to connect here, according to these excerpts?
Yeah, the source is quite specific about this. It talks about bridging gaps between home, school, and community resources. Let's just think about those three areas for a second and where the disconnects usually happen.
Okay, home, school, and community. So bridging the gap between home and school first. What does that actually look like in practice?
Well, the school, that's where the formal plan happens, right? The IEP, the 504. It has its own language, its own procedures, its own staff teachers, special ed coordinators, psychologists, principals. Home is where the child lives, where parents manage daily life, health stuff, therapy appointments, and then they have to go into these school meetings and advocate. Often there can be a huge disconnect there in communication style, in understanding roles, maybe even cultural differences, or just different priorities between what's happening at home and what the school is focused on. So bridging this gap means making sure communication is seamless, understandable, respectful, and that there's a shared understanding of the child's needs and goals across both places.
Got it. And the gap between school and community resources. What falls under community resources?
That's basically everything outside the school walls that supports the child and family. Think private therapists, speech, OT, PT doctors, specialists, parent support groups, maybe adapted sports programs, government services, social workers, respite care, you name it.
Right, a whole ecosystem.
Exactly. And schools often don't know the full range of what's out there in the community. And families might be connected to community stuff, but struggle to make sure it lines up with or complements what the school is doing. So bridging this gap means creating ways for information to flow back and forth with consent, of course, coordinating services, and making sure families can actually find and access community supports that fit with the school plan.
So it's really about creating this cohesive net of support. Instead of having home, school, and community all operating in their own little silos, it's like building clear paths through that intricate landscape we talked about, connecting all the vital spots.
Precisely.
And the ultimate goal of all this, what's the hub aiming for by creating this connective tissue and empowering families?
The core goal, right there in the source, is making sure every child gets the personalized education they deserve. And they do that by giving crucial support to the families who are navigating the system to get it. It's basically saying, look, the system is tough. Families often can't do it alone. Active, informed family support is absolutely essential to get that truly personalized education for a child's unique needs. It's not enough just to have laws on the books. You need something, some mechanism to help families actually use those laws effectively to meet their child's specific needs in school.
You know, that vision really speaks directly to that feeling of being overwhelmed that so many parents and guardians talk about. Just knowing that something like this exists with the explicit goal of empowering you, the parent, and connecting these often separate parts, home, school, community, I mean, that alone feels like a really powerful starting point.
It does.
It validates how hard the journey is and offers a concrete hand to help guide you through it.
Absolutely. It shifts the whole focus. It's not just about providing a service to the child. It's about building capacity, knowledge, and connection within the entire support network around the child, with the family right at the center. It recognizes that the strength of that whole network directly impacts whether the child succeeds.
Okay, so if that's the big picture, the vision, empowerment, connection, how does the hub actually do this? Like on a practical day-to-day level, what are the tangible things, the concrete resources they offer families based on the source material we have? It lists several key areas.
Right. The source highlights several really fundamental roles, all focused on giving families immediate accessible resources, things they desperately need when they're trying to deal with the special ed system. And it starts with those core documents, the ones that define the child's path, the IEPs and the 504 plans.
Yes. The source specifically mentions guidance on education plans. It says they help parents navigate those individualized education programs, IEPs, and the 504 plans, offering expert advice. Let's dig into this a bit. Why are these plans often such a major source of confusion and, frankly, stress for parents?
Oh, the IET and the 504, they're absolutely central, legally binding documents, but wow, are they dense. They are steeped in educational jargon, legal terms, specific procedures. For a parent who's not an educator, who hasn't been through this before, getting handed this thick document outlining evaluations, goals, services, methods, placement decisions, it can feel like getting a technical manual in another language.
Yeah.
You know, it's critical, potentially life-changing for your kid's education, but understanding what every single section means, how the goals were decided, are the services enough, what are my rights if I disagree or want changes, it takes specialized knowledge.
It's like being asked to negotiate a really complex legal contract without ever going to law school. And the stakes are incredibly high. It's your child's education, and you feel like you're at a huge disadvantage just understanding the basics.
Exactly that. And the process itself, those meetings where they develop or review the plans, they can be really intimidating. You might be sitting there with a whole team of professionals, teachers, specialists, administrators, throwing around acronyms like FAPE, LRE, ESY. talking about progress monitoring data, present levels of performance, related services, supplementary aids. You want to ask good questions to make sure your child's needs, as you know them, are being met. You want to advocate for what you believe is best. But the sheer complexity of the language, the volume of information, it can just shut you down.
So when the source says the hub offers expert advice on navigating these, what does that expertise actually look like? What are they doing?
Well, it implies having professionals involved, people like special education advocates, maybe former educators who know the system inside out, or even lawyers who specialize in education law. They can sit down with a parent, go through the document section by section, explain the jargon, help them understand what the proposed goals or services really mean in practice.
Okay.
They can help parents prepare for meetings, figure out the key points to bring up, maybe even review the final document to make sure it's compliant with the law and actually reflects the child's assessed needs. This isn't just generic advice, it's really targeted, knowledgeable guidance on these specific critical documents, helping parents translate that bureaucracy into something they can understand and act on, empowering them to participate meaningfully, confidently.
So if you've ever just stared at an IEP or a 504 feeling totally lost, wondering, am I asking the right things? Do I really get what they're suggesting? This resource is aimed right at you. It's providing that vital translation service, that strategic advice, so you're not trying to figure out this complex legal territory all by yourself.
Right. It gives you the map, essentially, and the guide to understand where you are with the plan and where you need to push to go. Now, moving beyond just the documents, the source also talks about broader educational support through workshops and training sessions. These sessions, it says, educate parents on their rights and the resources available to their children.
Educating parents on their rights, that just jumps out. It sounds so incredibly crucial. We touched on it, but let's go a bit deeper.
Yeah.
Why is knowing your rights so fundamental in the special education world? What power does that knowledge actually give a parent?
Knowing your rights under federal laws like IDEA, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, and relevant state and local rules, it's absolutely foundational. It's the bedrock for effective advocacy. These laws aren't just suggestions, they are legal mandates. They guarantee specific rights to children with disabilities and to their parents. Understanding these rights means you understand, for instance, you have the right to a comprehensive evaluation at no cost to you, the right to be part of the team that decides your child's program, the right to receive a free, appropriate public education AFAE in the least restrictive environment, the LRE, meaning alongside non-disabled peers as much as possible, and the right to procedural safeguards, which includes ways to resolve disputes if you disagree with the school.
So it's not just about aiming for a good plan. It's about making sure the school actually follows the law while creating and carrying out that plan. Knowing your rights gives you the standing to ask questions, to challenge things, to negotiate from a position of knowledge, making sure the school meets its legal duties.
Precisely. It empowers parents to be active participants, not just passive recipients. It gives them the ability to say, actually, under IDEA, my understanding is I have the right to, or can you show me in the evaluation report where this conclusion comes from? It fundamentally changes the power dynamic in those meetings, gives parents leverage, confidence when they're pushing for necessary services or the right placement. Without knowing your rights, you might not even know what questions you should be asking or what services your child could be entitled to.
It lets you stand on solid legal ground and say, look, I understand what the law requires here, and I want to make sure my child is getting that.
Exactly. And the workshops don't just cover legal rights. They also educate parents on available resources. This is the practical side. Once you know what your child is legally entitled to, you need to know what services, programs, assistive tech, or supports actually exist both in the school district and out in the community that can help meet those needs. It connects the legal framework to the real-world solutions and support options.
Okay, so this is really about equipping you, the parent or guardian, with that full toolkit, understanding the legal rights and knowing the practical resources so you can be an effective, informed, confident advocate for your child's specific needs. It's proactive empowerment, really.
That's a great way to put it. And the source takes that support even further by mentioning legal and advocacy support. It says they connect families with advocates who can represent their interests in educational settings. Now, this is a really significant resource, often critical, actually, especially for families who are facing really complex situations, or maybe there are ongoing disagreements with the school district, or the power imbalance just feels too huge to handle alone. An advocate here is a professional who has deep knowledge of special ed law, policy, and how school systems actually work on the ground.
So they're not necessarily lawyers who'd go to court for you.
Not always, though some advocates are lawyers or might work closely with legal aid services. But their main role is often as an expert guide and representative within the school system processes. They can advise parents, help prepare for meetings, and often they'll actually attend IEP or 504 meetings with the parents, speaking on their behalf sometimes, or just strongly supporting the parent's voice and position.
Wow, so they're more than just advisors. They can actually step in and actively represent the family's position in those meetings.
Yes, they can act as that knowledgeable partner and representative. They'll review all the documents beforehand, help the parent formulate their points, clarify jargon during the meeting itself, make sure the school district is following all the procedures correctly, and really articulate the parent's concerns and desired outcomes in the specific language that educators understand and respond to.
Wow.
In situations where communication has broken down maybe, or a parent feels really intimidated, or the case is just very complex, having an advocate there can totally change the dynamic and the outcome. It helps level that playing field.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting. They actually connect you with people who can represent you. That feels like a whole different level of support. It goes way beyond just giving out information or general advice. It's providing direct expert help to navigate the system's actual processes and potential fights. Almost like having a skilled guide for a really tricky part of the journey.
It can be absolutely essential. For many families, the emotional burden plus the knowledge gap. It's just too much when you're facing a big institution like a school district in a high-stakes meeting about your child. Access to advocacy support means they don't have to carry that all alone. They have an expert making sure their child's rights and needs are being addressed properly according to the law and best practices. This resource is especially valuable when you're dealing with eligibility disputes, placement decisions, particularly around that least restrictive environment idea, or disagreements about the services in the IEP or 504.
So for those situations where just getting advice or attending a workshop isn't cutting it, where the stakes feel really high or the conflict is serious, having access to this kind of legal and advocacy support sounds like a genuine game changer for families. It takes a huge weight off parents' shoulders and adds that professional expertise, weight, and confidence to their side.
Definitely. Now, beyond these very direct, tangible resources, the source also puts a really strong emphasis on another crucial element: the relational side of things. It talks a lot about community and collaboration being right at the heart of what the DC Special Education Hub does.
Okay, community and collaboration. How does a hub actually build that sense of community? How does it facilitate people working together, the different players in a child's life?
Well, the source explicitly says they believe in the power of community and collaboration. They get that navigating special education isn't just about getting professional services. It's also deeply about human connection, shared experience. So they foster a network, one that connects families not just with local services, but really importantly, with each other. It's about creating those horizontal links between parents who are on the same journey, as well as encouraging that vertical collaboration between families, schools, and service providers.
Connecting families with each other. That seems incredibly valuable. Almost like creating a built-in support network of people who really understand. How do they make that happen? That peer-to-peer connection.
The source mentions fostering peer support. It says they provide platforms for families to share experiences and advice. And it specifically points out that this peer support is particularly valuable for those near to special education.
Why is that peer connection so critical, do you think? Especially for newcomers who might be reeling from a new diagnosis or just entering this whole complex system for the first time?
Well, getting a diagnosis or realizing your child needs special ed support, it can feel like an earthquake emotionally. You might feel totally isolated, confused, really anxious about the future, not sure who you can even talk to who understands. Professionals, yes, they give essential clinical and legal info, but connecting with another parent who has actually navigated similar challenges, that offers something totally unique.
Like what?
Like lived experience, empathy, practical, real-world advice that you won't find in a textbook or a legal document. They can share how they felt, what strategies they found useful for talking to the school, tips for juggling therapy schedules, recommendations for local programs, or maybe just offer a listening ear from someone who truly, truly gets it.
Yeah, finding others who have walked a similar path, who understand the unique joys but also the profound challenges of raising a child with special needs, who've maybe been through those sleepless nights worrying or felt that frustration in meetings. That can be incredibly validating. It cuts through that isolation and provides practical tips from experience that go beyond the expert advice. It reminds you,
you are not alone in this.
Absolutely. It provides that crucial emotional anchor and that practical, peer-tested wisdom. And this peer connection, this shared understanding, it feeds right into another aspect the source highlights: collaborative problem solving. It talks about encouraging parents, educators, and specialists to work together to find creative solutions for individual student needs.
Okay, that sounds like more than just everyone showing up to the IEP meeting. It sounds like actively trying to work together as a team to brainstorm solutions. Is that right?
Exactly. It's moving beyond what can sometimes feel like an adversarial dynamic, or just going through the motions to check boxes for compliance. It implies this shared commitment to finding the best, most creative, most tailored solutions for a child's specific challenges and strengths. Collaborative problem solving means bringing all the different perspectives to the table as equal partners.
So whose perspectives are we talking about?
You've got the parents' deep, intimate knowledge of the child, their history, personality, home life. You've got the educator's understanding of learning strategies, classroom dynamics. You've got the specialist's deep expertise in a specific area, maybe behavior, communication, motor skills.
So it's about pooling all that collective wisdom and experience to maybe go beyond the standard stuff and come up with truly individualized approaches.
Yes. It's about leveraging the unique insights everyone brings to develop strategies that might not be obvious at first, but are specifically designed to meet that child's individual student needs in the most effective way possible. It's a dynamic process, bringing different kinds of knowledge together: lived experience, academic knowledge, clinical skills to tackle challenges and design innovative approaches. And the Hub facilitates this, maybe through specific meetings they set up, or workshops focused on collaborative techniques, or even online platforms for shared discussion.
So it's not just handing out resources, it's actually helping all the key people in a child's life learn how to work together effectively, to figure things out, troubleshoot, find those creative, tailored solutions that really fit the child. That feels like a much more holistic, sustainable, and probably more effective model for meeting truly individual needs.
It certainly feels that way. And supporting all this collaboration and community building is the idea of resource sharing. The source mentions the Hub is creating a repository of shared knowledge and tools.
A central place, like a library of useful information and tools. What kind of things might be in a repository like that, based on what the Hub is trying to do?
Oh, just think about the sheer volume of information a family needs to find and process. Understanding specific diagnoses like dyslexia or autism, finding local therapists or respite care, researching different teaching methods or assistive technologies that might help, learning about adapted rec programs, finding template letters for communicating with the school about concerns or requests, getting clear, easy to understand guides to reading evaluation reports, checklists for getting ready for IEP meetings.
Wow, yeah, that's a huge amount of information, and it's usually scattered all over the place, different websites, organizations, maybe just notes you scribble down.
Precisely. So a central repository could collect and organize all that. It could house successful strategies that other parents or teachers have found worked well. Maybe reviews of useful educational apps or software, vetted directories of local service providers, simplified explanations of confusing policies or legal terms, downloadable templates for common letters, lists of recommended books or articles, videos explaining certain concepts or techniques, maybe even recordings of past workshops or webinars if they have permission.
Having one central, accessible, and presumably trustworthy place for all that information, that would drastically cut down the time and effort individual families spend hunting, checking, and trying to discover everything from scratch. It's like having a curated library of collective wisdom and practical tools, specifically for the special ed journey in DC.
Exactly. Imagine having that library built from the experience of other parents, educators, experts right at your fingertips. It's about making things more efficient, giving access to proven methods, and just reducing that information gathering burden on families who are already juggling so much.
Now, the source also makes a point of saying the Hub goes beyond providing conventional support by pioneering innovative solutions. What makes their approach innovative? And how do they make it, as the source says, personalized and proactive?
This seems to be where they're really leaning into modern tools and tailoring strategies in ways that maybe weren't common before. The source gives us some specific examples of this innovation, things that seem to improve both how the system works and how empowered families feel.
Like technology integration. The source mentions leveraging digital tools to create and manage education plans more efficiently and allow parents to track progress in real time. Let's dive into that. How could digital tools actually make managing something like an IEP or 504 plan more efficient?
Well, traditionally, managing IEPs and 504s means mountains of paper, endless email chains, trying to coordinate manually between lots of different people. Digital tools can streamline this massively. Imagine, say, a secure online platform where the IEP document actually lives.
Yep.
Team members, parents, teachers, specialists could potentially collaborate on drafts there, upload relevant reports, track changes, maybe get automatic reminders for deadlines like annual review dates, even use digital signatures. It centralizes everything, makes access way easier for everyone involved, and ensures people are always working from the most current version. It just cuts down on administrative headaches and the potential for errors from scattered information.
That makes a lot of sense just from an organizational standpoint. What about allowing parents to track progress in real time? How might that work using digital tools, and what's the real benefit there?
Okay, real-time progress tracking could involve maybe teachers or therapists using an app or a web portal to log data related to a child's IEP goals right after they observe something or finish a session. So a speech therapist might log data on how the child did on a specific communication goal during their therapy time. A teacher could log observations on academic goals or behavior targets throughout the school day. And then that data becomes accessible to parents probably through a secure login much sooner than waiting for the traditional quarterly progress report.
So instead of waiting potentially months to see a summary, you could see data points on your child's progress towards their specific goals almost right away.
Exactly. And that level of transparency, that timeliness, it's really powerful. It lets parents stay much more closely informed about their child's day-to-day or week-to-week progress on those specific objectives. But crucially, it also allows the entire team, parents included, to see very quickly if a child is not making the progress they expected.
Okay.
If the data shows things are flatlining on a goal for several weeks, it triggers a conversation much earlier. It lets the team be more proactive, discuss why progress isn't happening, and maybe tweak strategies or services much sooner rather than waiting months for a formal review meeting to find out things weren't working.
Technology can sometimes feel like just another layer of complexity. But the way it's described here, it sounds like a tool specifically designed to give you, the parent, more immediate insight, more transparency, more control, really, over your child's educational journey, allowing for more proactive adjustments instead of just reacting to old reports.
It really aims to shift the system from feeling kind of opaque and reactive to being more transparent and proactive, genuinely empowering parents with timely, relevant data about their child's learning. Another innovative approach the source mentions is virtual support groups. It notes they're hosting virtual meetings and webinars to reach a wider audience and accommodate different schedules.
That's incredibly smart. Why is providing virtual access so important for families in special education, especially in a place like DC where life is busy?
Oh, it tackles some of the biggest practical hurdles that parents of kids with special needs face all the time. Just think about the logistics. Arranging childcare, maybe for a child with significant needs, dealing with transportation, trying to fit meetings around work schedules that might not be flexible, managing your child's own therapy or doctor appointments that take up chunks of time. Actually getting to an in-person meeting or support group can be a huge challenge.
Right, so offering virtual options just opens the door for families who otherwise literally couldn't participate.
Absolutely. Whether it's a live webinar in the evening you can join from home after the kids are asleep, or maybe a recorded session you can watch on your phone later, or a support group meeting over video conference. Virtual access just democratizes the whole thing. It removes geographic barriers, accommodates difficult schedules, helps parents with childcare issues or transportation limits. It means a parent who lives across town, works nights, or has a child whose needs make finding childcare really hard can still get that invaluable knowledge and connect with other parents. It hugely expands the hub's reach and potential impact.
Making it virtual means way more people can actually show up, participate, get the support they need, tap into that community and knowledge base. No matter how busy they are or where they live in the service area, that's a really powerful way to boost access.
It makes the resources truly accessible and flexible for families who are managing incredibly complex lives. And finally, the source points to customized learning approaches. It says they are developing strategies tailored to individual learning styles and needs with the help of educational software and diagnostic tools.
Okay, this brings us back to that idea of personalized education we talked about right at the start. How does the Hub help make approaches truly customized?
Well, this is really the opposite of a cookie-cutter approach. Children with special needs have such unique profiles, right? Different strengths, different challenges, different ways they process information. So using diagnostic tools is the starting point. And these aren't just your standard academic tests. They might be specific assessments looking at learning disabilities, cognitive processing, executive function skills, communication styles, behavioral patterns. These diagnostics give a really detailed picture of how a specific child learns best, where their challenges really lie, down to a granular level, and what specific skills need targeting.
So the diagnostics really drive the strategy.
Precisely. Based on that detailed, data-driven understanding of the child's unique learning profile, the hub can then help the team, parents, educators, specialists develop strategies that are genuinely tailored. This might mean recommending specific teaching methods known to work for that profile, suggesting particular types of educational software designed for certain learning styles or to target specific skills like reading intervention software or math programs, or maybe helping the school identify the right kind of assistive technology. It's all about matching the intervention, the tools, precisely to the individual child's needs, as revealed by good assessment.
Because every child is unique, and their educational path needs to be too. Understanding that this hub focuses on tailoring approaches based on diagnostics and matching those with appropriate tools, maybe tech-supported ones, that gives families confidence. Confidence that the support is designed specifically for their child's profile, not just applying some generic plan or using methods that might be outdated.
It definitely reflects a deeper understanding. The understanding that effective special education has to be highly individualized, and it benefits hugely from using modern tools and data to make those individualization decisions really precise and effective.
Now, the source material includes testimonials, which, let's face it, often bring these ideas to life more powerfully than just descriptions to show the real-world impact. What do these brief success stories tell us about how the hub is actually affecting families in the DC community?
Yeah, the source gives us two short but really compelling examples. They work like little snapshots, illustrating the transformative effect of the hub's resources and support.
Okay, the first one is from Sarah T., a parent. The quote is pretty direct. Before we found the hub, navigating our child's IEP was overwhelming. With their help, we're now actively involved in our child's education and have seen incredible improvements.
This testimonial, it's powerful because it just perfectly captures the journey the hub wants families to take. It starts right there, naming that common feeling, overwhelming. The IEP process was overwhelming, something we talked about a lot.
Then it highlights the turning point, the hub's help. And that help led to a fundamental shift from feeling overwhelmed to being actively involved. Now, that's not just a change in feeling, it's a change in capacity, in posture. Being actively involved means you understand the process, you contribute meaningfully to the plan, you communicate effectively with the school, you participate in making decisions.
And the result of that shift, from being overwhelmed to being actively involved.
The result, Sarah T. says, is tangible, positive change. They have seen incredible improvements in their child's education. This strongly suggests that the empowerment the hub provided, maybe the IEP guidance, the knowledge from workshops, perhaps advocacy supported, directly translated into the parent becoming a more effective advocate and partner, which in turn had a direct positive impact on the child's learning and progress. It's a really concise validation of the hub's whole mission: empower the family, get better outcomes for the child. That's exactly what we were discussing earlier, helping parents move beyond just feeling lost in the paperwork and the process. And the result, according to Sarah, isn't just feeling better, it's seeing concrete, incredible improvement in her child's education. That's powerful, real-world proof of the hub's value.
It shows that direct link. Support the parent, see positive change in the child. Now, the second testimonial is from John D., a guardian. The quote is, "The workshops offered us invaluable insights into our rights as parents, and the advocacy we received empowered us to achieve better educational outcomes for our son."
Okay, so this one specifically highlights two different but complementary resources we talked about,
Right.
The workshops and the advocacy support.
Yes, it illustrates the impact of different parts of the hub's offerings really neatly. John D. specifically says the workshops gave them invaluable insights into our rights as parents. This directly backs up our earlier conversation about how critical it is for parents to know their legal rights in special ed. And that knowledge wasn't just academic for him, he found it invaluable.
And how did that knowledge, combined with the advocacy piece, lead to results?
He says that this knowledge, plus the advocacy we received, combined to make him feel empowered. And, crucially, it resulted in achieving better educational outcomes for our son. So this shows how both gaining knowledge from the workshops and getting direct support or representation through advocacy work together. They gave John D. the tools and the confidence he needed to navigate the system effectively, leading to real positive changes for his child's schooling. It demonstrates the power of equipping parents with both information and active support.
These are just abstract ideas or descriptions of services anymore. These are accounts from real people, parents, and guardians in D.C., describing how the hub directly changed their experience, how it significantly improved their ability to support their child, leading to actual positive results. It paints a really relatable picture of the potential benefits for you if you were in their shoes and engaged with the hub.
Right. They serve as these concrete human examples of the hub's mission and resources in action, showing that the support they provide really does translate into tangible, positive change in kids' lives, driven by empowering their families.
So if someone in the Washington, D.C. area is listening to this deep dive right now and thinking, okay, wow, this sounds exactly like the kind of support my family could use, how does the source suggest they actually get started? How do they connect with the hub? It gives some pretty simple, actionable steps, right?
It does, yeah. The source clearly lays out 4 practical ways for families to begin engaging with the hub and start accessing that whole system of support. And the steps seem designed to move people from just being aware of it to actually getting personalized help.
Okay, step 1 seems like the easiest entry point. Visit their website. The source says, start by exploring the hub's online portal to familiarize yourself with available resources and upcoming events.
Right. This is positioned as the main gateway, the front door to everything the hub offers. The website is likely where you'd find all the info about the different programs, that resource repository we talked about, schedules for workshops and virtual events, contact info for the experts and advocates, maybe even links to community forums. It's the logical first stop for a family to just get oriented, see the full range of what's available, and figure out which resources might fit their immediate needs before they actually reach out or sign up for something.
It's like the digital welcome mat. You start there to get the lay of the land, see what's inside, figure out how to connect. Okay, the next step is to attend workshops. The source specifically suggests that regular participation in workshops and training sessions can provide you with the knowledge needed to advocate effectively for your child.
This really hammers home the value of that educational piece the hub provides. Attending workshops isn't just presented as an option, but as a recommended way to build that crucial knowledge base. And the emphasis on regular participation suggests that advocacy isn't a one-time thing. Staying informed about rights, resources, strategies requires ongoing learning. These sessions build that foundational understanding, translating all that complex legal and educational stuff into usable knowledge that directly empowers a parent to advocate confidently and effectively over time.
So it's about proactively getting the tools and knowledge you need. Connecting back to John Dee's testimonial about the invaluable insights he got from the workshops.
Exactly. The workshops are where families gain that essential literacy in special education law and practice, which is just vital for navigating the system. Okay, the third step encourages connection and community. Engage with the community. The source advises families to join forums and support groups to connect with other families and exchange valuable experiences and information.
So this brings in that really important peer support element we discussed.
Yeah.
And frames it as an active step families should take.
Yes, and it highlights that the hub is facilitating this by providing specific places for forums and support groups. It emphasizes that it's not just about passively receiving expert information, it's about actively participating in that network of shared experiences and collective wisdom. Joining these groups provides that crucial peer connection, the emotional support, the practical tips from lived experience, that sense of solidarity with others facing similar challenges. And the source specifically mentions exchange valuable experiences and information, stressing that it's a two-way street. You share your experiences and you gain from others.
It's about tapping into that collective wisdom, sharing your own story, and realizing you're not isolated, reinforcing that powerful message, you are not alone here. Okay, and finally, the source suggests that when things get more personalized or complex, families should consult with experts. It says to make appointments to discuss your unique situation with experts in special education law and advocacy.
Right. This step provides the path for that personalized one-on-one support when the broader resources, the website info, the workshops, the community forums have provided the foundation but aren't quite enough for a family's specific, complex needs or challenges. Consulting with experts means actually sitting down with someone who specializes in special ed law or advocacy to dig deep into the specifics of your child's evaluations, your particular disagreements with the school about services or placement, or complex legal questions unique to your case.
So it's the step for getting that really tailored in-depth guidance when the more general resources need to be supplemented, when you need specialized knowledge applied directly to your unique situation or difficult conflict.
Precisely. So these steps together provide a clear, kind of tiered roadmap for how to engage. A family can start just by exploring online, then build their knowledge through workshops, find community and practical tips through peer support, and then, when needed, access that highly specialized, personalized expertise to tackle specific, complex issues. The hub isn't just throwing out a list of resources. The source tells you exactly how to access them, suggesting a natural progression from general exploration to getting really specific, targeted support.
So these steps are like a practical guide to unlocking the full potential of what the hub offers, moving from just knowing about it to actively participating and getting the exact help you need.
Yeah, it provides clear pathways to navigate the hub's offerings, depending on where a family is at in their journey and what they need most.
Okay, finally, the source looks toward the future. What does it say about where the DC Special Education Hub is headed, and maybe more broadly, what it represents for the whole field of special education support?
The source definitely frames the hub as more than just a local program. It calls its establishment and operation an important step forward in supporting families across Washington, D.C. But the vision described seems to extend well beyond just the impact on families using it today.
What kind of broader impact does it anticipate, like systemically?
Well, the source makes this really powerful point about the compounding effect of community engagement. It states that as more families become aware of and integrate into this network, the collective strength and advocacy for children with special needs will undoubtedly grow. This suggests the hub's impact isn't just additive, it's potentially exponential.
Also,
The more families who get informed, who feel empowered with knowledge about rights and resources, who get connected with each other through this hub, the stronger their collective voice becomes. And this increased collective strength doesn't just help individual kids in isolated cases. It builds momentum for systemic improvements, maybe pushing for better policies, advocating for increased resources for special ed across the whole district, ultimately benefiting all children with special needs in the area, even those whose families aren't directly using the hub.
so the idea is that a family's participation doesn't just help their own child. By becoming part of this network, they're actually contributing to building a more powerful, unified voice for all families and kids dealing with special education in D.C. It's individual empowerment fueling collective power and potentially system change.
Exactly. The hub is seen as facilitating that link individual empowerment building up into collective advocacy, which then drives broader improvements in the educational system. And the source outlines a really ambitious vision for this model's potential impact even beyond DC.
Yeah, it says that by continuing to evolve and innovate, the hub aims to become an exemplar for similar initiatives across the United States, demonstrating a sustainable model for community-driven educational excellence.
Right. This positions the DC hub not just as a local service, but as a potential national blueprint, a proof of concept. They seem to believe their specific model built on those pillars of empowering families with resources, intentionally building community and peer support, fostering collaboration between home, school, community, and using innovative, accessible solutions like tech and virtual access is a sustainable model.
Sustainable meaning it can keep going.
Yeah, sustainable implies it's not just dependent on, say, one grant or a couple of key people, but it's built on principles and ways of engaging people that allow it to last and grow over time. And that term community-driven is really key there. It suggests the model's strength and effectiveness come in large part from the active participation, the contributions, the collaboration of the very community it's designed to serve.
So this isn't just about helping families in one city. The people involved actually believe they're building something that could be a successful model, a blueprint that other cities or regions or maybe even whole states across the U.S. could look at, learn from, adapt, and maybe replicate. That's a genuinely big and pretty inspiring vision.
It really is. It elevates the DC Hub from being just a local resource to being a potential demonstration project, showing how effective, family-centered, collaborative, and sustainable special education support systems can actually be designed and put into practice. It highlights the power you get when you prioritize empowering the people most directly affected the families and leverage the strength of the community itself.
You know, even if you're not living in D.C., just understanding this model,
The thinking behind it, the specific resources and strategies they're using, that can offer incredibly valuable insights. Insights into what effective special education support could look like, or maybe should look like, in your own community. It could serve as inspiration, maybe a benchmark, for advocating for or even trying to build similar community-driven initiatives wherever you are.
It definitely underscores that potential for real transformation when support systems are designed with the lived experience of families right at the center, and when they actively work to foster connection and collective action. So, wrapping things up, the source material we've looked at today presents the DC Special Education Hub as, well, much more than just a service directory or another office. It's described pretty emphatically as a vital lifeline for families trying to navigate the complexities of special education. We've seen how it provides those comprehensive resources, everything from crucial expert guidance on really daunting documents like IEPs and 504s, to those empowering workshops that give parents essential knowledge about rights and services, plus that vital legal and advocacy support for when families face bigger challenges. And beyond just resources, it really invests in community building, creating platforms for that critical peer support, actively encouraging collaborative problem solving between everyone involved in a child's life, home, school, community. And it's looking ahead, pioneering innovative solutions, using technology for better efficiency and real-time insight, using virtual platforms to make support more accessible, and focusing on truly customized learning approaches based on diagnostics.
It really does sound like they've taken this incredibly holistic and frankly empathetic view, thinking carefully about all the different layers of challenge families face. The dense bureaucracy, feeling like you lack specialized knowledge, the potential isolation, the absolute need for support that's genuinely tailored to your child. And they've deliberately built a system that tries to tackle all of that head-on, offering practical help, fostering real connection, using forward-thinking tools, and building that collective strength.
Exactly. The source makes a really compelling case that this comprehensive, integrated model shows how effective support can transform educational challenges into opportunities for achievement. It's fundamentally about shifting the family's experience, moving from just struggling to cope with difficulties to being actively equipped and supported to pursue and achieve the best possible outcomes for their child.
So, bringing this all back to you, the listener, wherever you happen to be,
Mhm.
what does this deep dive into the DC Special Education Hub really mean?
Well, I think it means that navigating special education, while it's definitely complex, it doesn't have to be a solitary journey or feel like an insurmountable wall. The DC Special Education Hub stands as this concrete example that resources do exist, and communities can be intentionally built with the specific goal of empowering families and advocating effectively for children's unique needs, even within really complex systems. It demonstrates the profound impact that informed, connected, and supported parents can have. They become powerful catalysts for positive change in their children's education.
And here's a final thought to maybe leave with you, something to mull over, based on what we've just unpacked from these sources about the DC Hub's vision. If a sustainable, community-driven Model 1 built on empowerment, collaboration, shared knowledge can actually transform the experience of navigating something as complex as special education, well, how might those same principles, leveraging collective strength, ensuring access to vital knowledge, fostering genuine partnership, how might those reshape other complicated systems that deeply impact families' lives? Maybe in areas like healthcare access or mental health services, or even securing appropriate housing like the special needs housing we mentioned right at the start of the show. And that wraps up our deep dive into the DC Special Education Hub, based entirely on the source materials we explored today. We really hope this gave you a much clearer, more detailed picture of the specific support available there in Washington, D.C., and maybe, just maybe, spark some valuable ideas or reflections about the potential for similar initiatives and the transformative power of these community-driven support models elsewhere. Thank you so much for going on this deep dive with us.
Thank you.
We'll catch you on the next one.